Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Amy Cooper, and I am here today with Bill Finn, SVP and Chief Actuary at the Hanover Insurance, with responsibility for actuarial and analytics. Welcome, Bill.
Good to be here, Amy.
So you are speaking at the Future of Insurance on November 16th through 18th. Can you tell us a little bit about that, talking about the future of analytics for actuaries?
Yeah, it's a great topic and something I have a lot of passion about. As we think about the vision of insurance into the future, analytics plays a huge role, and actuaries have carried the heavy lifting of analytics in insurance for maybe the last 100 years. But over the last decade and a half, we've seen the advent of data science coming into the insurance industry. And the importance of data governance with the GDPR rules in Europe, and now states in the US starting to bring that to the forefront. And so all of this is coming together in a world that I think is going to be really fascinating for people who are skilled in the space of analytics, and that includes actuaries, data scientists, and other analysts. It's a great time to come into this industry, and it's a great time to be looking for and hiring people with those skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're also on a panel talking about evolving risk. Can you give us just a little teaser on that?
Yeah, I think it's not too hard. All you have to do is look at the newspapers over the last couple of months. I think Louisiana today, in late October, is bearing the brunt of their fourth or fifth hurricane of the year, right? So I mean, we're seeing wildfires in the West and increased losses, insurance losses due to those, increased severe storms in the East. A lot of other things. The global pandemic, COVID-19, has really raised a lot of questions about what insurance means and what insurance ought to mean in the marketplace. And I think the world is just going to continue to get more and more complex. But these things are things that we as leaders in an insurance company and across the industry have to grapple with. We have to think about what the role of insurance in our society is supposed to be, what we're here to do. And we need to use the tools that we bring to the table, in my case, analytics and the ability to do data and analysis and help inform decision making, to navigate these new challenges that we're going to face. And I think, in my opinion, things are going to get more complex, not less, over the coming years.
Yeah, well, thank goodness for analytics to help us out with that. So tell us a little bit. We're curious to know, how did you get into insurance?
My path is what we would call a non-traditional path. I have a degree in philosophy and then a degree in mathematics that I got with the intention that I would probably be a teacher someday. And I did a lot of different things in my 20s before I ever heard about being an actuary. Nobody at the university or in the high school I was at was giving me an indication that there was a career path out there for someone who was math minded. It's funny, as I went through 4 years studying philosophy, I took a lot of mathematics just because I liked it, and I had the flexibility to do it in a liberal arts degree, and that ended up serving me well. But I began to hear about the career through my father, who was a math teacher, when he was retiring and working with some insurance people, and they started talking about this career where you could pass exams and get promoted within the profession. And my father was a ultimate meritocracy supporter, and this was really great news to him. And he passed that on to me, and I started looking into it and preparing for exams, and ultimately found my way in through the regulatory path. I started my career with the New York Insurance Department. It was harder to get into a company having been out of college for a long time because I didn't quite fit the mold. And that's one of the things I always, in my hiring, is try and make sure that we always have room for career changers or people who don't quite fit the mold, because I think that kind of diversity is really important as well.
That's absolutely true. And I guess just along those lines, what advice would you have for somebody who is interested in becoming an actuary?
Depending on how old they are, that sometimes scares me when people tell me they wanted to be an actuary since they were in ninth grade. That often kind of freaks me out. But I, the advice I have, the barriers to entry in the actuarial profession are there for a reason. So the actuarial exams are not easy to get through. They're difficult. Most of the folks that we hire today come in with mathematics or statistics or an actuarial degree. And so what I would say, first of all, if you're considering an actuarial career, is to make sure that you love math and love problem solving, because that's really what we do. I worked for an actuary one time who described actuaries as the engineers of the insurance industry, right? So we solve problems like engineers do. We just bring a different tool set to bear, a different skill set when we solve those problems. So if you love problem solving, if you love mathematics, then I would say the preparation is just following those things and working to build out your skills in those areas. But I would also say, and we just talked about this a little bit, that understanding business, understanding the place of insurance in our society today, understanding what's going on in the broader financial markets, all of these things make one a better actuary at the end of the day and more valuable. That the broader your knowledge and the broader your experiences, the more value and that you bring to the organization when it comes to solving these problems and making decisions. And so I think it's important to build that foundation, but it's important not to focus too narrowly as well. I think it's important to be a little bit more broadly experienced.
Yeah, that is good advice. You better love math, right? So this year has been quite different from prior years. 2020's changed a lot of things. Can you share with us something that you've learned dealing with the events of this year?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I've been quite impressed in the ability within the Hanover, and I think more broadly across a lot of professional companies to absorb what happened and to work remotely. It's amazing to me that at a flip of a switch, we went from 100% on premises to 100% remotely, and I don't feel like we've missed an awful lot, which is I think great. I wonder what it would have been like to have to deal with this, 20 years ago when we didn't have the tools and technology to do so. But I would say within the work environment, what I think this has really highlighted, and my company I think is pretty good at this. One of the reasons I enjoy working at the Hanover is the importance of collaborating across multiple functional areas. Right? Nobody has the answer to what's going to happen tomorrow or in 3 months or in 6 months in this environment. And so what we need to do is we need to sit down and spend a lot of time talking to people in the claims organization, spend a lot of time talking to our general counsel, our lawyers about what's going on in different regulatory settings, spend a lot of time talking to our underwriters and other experts to try and distill where we think the world is taking us and where we think our path is through this turmoil and into 2021 and beyond.
Yeah, have you been working on any skills that maybe no one knows about? And it doesn't have to be at work. It could be anything.
Well, it's funny, the working from home. I think people are putting in more time in front of the computers, but without commuting, we have a little extra free time too. One of the things I got into this year is something called Kamado cooking outside, which is a big ceramic barbecue where you can smoke things and you can barbecue. And I've been learning all the tricks of the trade. And it's one of those things my wife thought was a crazy expenditure when I first brought it in, but she's enjoyed the benefits of it over the last couple of months as I've learned to cook, brisket and ribs and pulled pork and chicken and all of those other things on there. So that's been a big payoff for us.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. You're gonna invite me over for dinner?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, this year has definitely afforded us a lot more time. Obviously, things have changed too with the way that people are managed being remote. And I don't know if this changes your answer, but what type of leadership style do you admire most? And have you had to adapt your leadership style?
Yeah, I think first of all, in terms of leadership style that I admire, I talked a little bit about my kind of circuitous career path um, into the job that I have today. And I mean, some early management experiences I had were quite interesting. I worked as a bill collector, and when I became a manager, they told us, the manager training was that what we had to do was walk up and down the aisle behind our people yelling at them, right? That was our management, that was our leadership style. And through the years and through the course of a career, as anyone has, I've had good and bad experiences. And I find, to me, the most powerful are inspirational type leaders, people who can crystallize a vision for a department or a group or a company or an enterprise, lay out a path to achieve that vision, and really get people inspired and understand how each and every role and job connects and helps move us toward that vision. I find that to be the most powerful leadership. You asked the second part, and I forgot what the second part was.
Just if you've adapted your leadership style since moving remote.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think is that it's been one has to be a lot more purposeful in managing a larger group. So one of the things I like to do when we're in person is to get up out of my desk and walk around and sit down and talk to people doing the work and hear what they're working on, and get involved in some of the debates or some of the discussions around how we might solve a particular problem. That's a lot harder to do virtually, and it requires a lot more intention. And so I've started setting aside time each day for I call them office hours, abilities for people to reach out to me to just talk about whatever, and more purposeful 15-minute kind of just check-ins with people up and down the organization, just to hear what they're working on and to make sure that in this remote environment, people are doing well. I think actuaries, by and large, tend to be kind of head down, analysis focused, and so a lot of folks are thriving in this environment. But people with young children and with school concerns and so forth, I mean, and if you have two working spouses at home with young children, it starts to become very stressful. And so I think it's important to make sure that I have a sense of how people are feeling as well. And that just takes a little bit more time in a virtual environment.
Absolutely. So I wanted to thank you again, Bill, for hopping on and talking with us. We look forward to seeing you at the Future of Insurance on November 16th through 18th and talking a little bit more about the analytics and future of risk. We'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. It was great talking to you.